Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 22nd of June, comes to you from London. And we're seeing the dollar just turning down a little bit, so turning short-term bearish here. We still have the upside targets in place, so we expect this to be a short-lived counter-trend move. And if we look at the euro, of course, that's just turning bullish. Again, we may just be forming a bottom here, double bottom, but it on the medium-term chart. But we do have these downside targets now hanging over us, so we expect the dollar to come back. Looking at the dollar against the yen, just holding on to its cloud position, but just testing that support as well. So dollar is just having a period of very short-term weakness. Sterling strengthening against the US dollar yesterday on the Bank of England's announcement that there may be an interest rate rise in August, with the expectation increasing that there will be. And looking at sterling against the euro, we see that pushed higher as well on that announcement, so we're looking a bit more bullish there. Swiss franc, we haven't quite managed to get through the cloud, so we're still looking bearish there. And Australian dollar, sterling does continue to test that 180 level. Bitcoin turning down quite sharply this morning, down 3.3%, back to bearish territory on all three charts, so looking bearish still. US stock markets had a fall away yesterday, down on the short-term chart turning bearish, so that is really key on the S&P 500 index. The Nasdaq not quite turning as bearish, but still down, and the Dow down quite heavily. This chart looking quite bearish indeed, and just the failure to make a new high as the long-term position plays out. This is starting to look more and more like a top. The Russell 2000 index was also down over 1%, so we're just seeing a broad-based sell-off there yesterday. The futures are up this morning, up 0.25% on the S&P, and up about 0.2% on the Nasdaq. So it does look like we will open higher. UK market is up this morning, but still looking bearish on that short-term chart, and the medium-term picture is also looking bearish. Germany is very flat this morning, little changed, and the CAC Current also just up slightly, but still looking bearish on the short-term chart. Japan overnight was down about 1/3%. The Hang Seng Index was fairly unchanged, and the Chinese market was also unchanged, but really sitting in that bearish position. And this recent sell-off on the back of these trade wars is actually just affecting the Chinese market quite significantly. And the Sensex also just holding up there, but fairly little changed overnight, and the Australian market actually stronger. Crude oil sitting at just below $74 this morning, still bearish on the short-term chart, and WTI just bullish on the short-term chart, so a bit of a mixed picture there. US nat gas sitting at $2.98, back into bullish territory on the short-term chart. Gold is actually still bearish below the cloud on the short term, and that medium-term sell-off already has happened. But again, like last year, we found support in beginning of July. We may well just be heading to that position now. But at the moment, gold is looking quite bearish in the short to medium term, and silver much the same picture as you might expect. US 10-year yield sitting at 2.91%, 2.92%, looking bullish on the short-term chart. And if we take a look at Apple, we see that Apple shares are still down 0.5% overnight, and looking bearish on that short-term chart. Amazon has been bucking the trend of late, still looking bullish on all three, although it was down 1% overnight. And Google has been the laggard on the medium-term picture, but actually is improving its position and testing new highs, so it will be interesting to see whether Google can break to a new high. Facebook's holding on to the $200 mark. It was down 0.25% overnight, but still looking bullish on all three time frames, with a lot of upside targets to aim for. And Microsoft holding on to that $100 mark. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until next weekend, happy charting. See you then.